Hello, good evening, viewers. Today, in this live session of Kavi Varsha, we have with us an extremely special guest, the persona that has inspired the generations aspiring for creating a mark in their lives, in spite of all obstacles, but with indomitable spirit. Let's enlighten ourselves with the sheer guidance of respected Ira Singhal ma'am, UPSC CSE Topper, and Joint Director at Social Welfare, Delhi Government, and Joint Director at Department of Women and Child Development at Government of NGT. Such a pleasure to have you, ma'am, on today's live session.
Thank you. It's my
So,
pleasure to be here.
uh, today in this live session, we'll be discussing the various aspects of youth engagement and volunteerism for national integrity.
Sure.
And I'll be also asking my viewers if they have any question relating to the topic, they can put it to me and I'll put it to ma'am. So I'm extremely
Okay.
excited for this session and looking forward for this extremely enlightening session, which I'm sure is going to be.
Thank you. Okay, let's start.
Okay. So, ma'am, the first question is, youth engagement and volunteerism has been always a backbone for any nations in today's era. Internet too has played a crucial role in empowering youth. There have been different platforms like UNV, NSS. How do you look to it? Like how important it is for creating a persona of an individual, and also how important or how it catalyzes when people aspire for civil services or field jobs like.
So honestly, regardless of what you want to do, as a career, it is very important that when you're young and when you have the most time available to you, since you have lesser responsibilities and the maximum energy available to you, you get to figure out what the world around you looks like. See, what happens is if you volunteer and if you're a part of a lot of initiatives and you take, you look into the social fabric around you, you kind of understand what problems exist. You get a realistic view of what the world looks like, and you understand how to tackle problems. Plus, when you're young, it's easier to get over your mistakes, and the magnitude of mistakes that you will make will be smaller. See, it's with experience that you start understanding the importance of small things, and you start weaving them into a larger fabric. But it all starts when you've understood them as a youngster, as when when you have the maximum time available to you, since you don't have family responsibilities, household responsibilities, you don't have to work for a living necessarily. It's a lot easier to do this and to build your learning, and that's how you will be successful in life, because you will come up with practical possible solutions, ones that can be on ground, ones which will produce results. And failing at a younger age is always easier than it is when you're in your later years. So it's extremely important to get a realistic view of the world, and to really become contributing parts of the fabric around you.
Perfect. Ma'am, we have been seeing a lot of hyperactive students on social media discussing on various topics. So can we see it is actually the youth representation, or it's something else that is masquerading as social activism, or it's in a
Um,
real sense far
so
more from activism?
no, so you know what? If you look at it, social media has just made that platform visible to everybody else. Back when internet didn't exist, people still talked about things. If you read about the Indian war for independence, the whole Indian struggle, it's channelized by the youth. It was the youth energy which got things moving, right? The old can just provide direction. It's the youth who does the actual implementation. So it's always been the young people who have carried forward ideas, carried forward battles, carried forward struggles. So it's not new, you're just seeing it on internet. What happens today is that a lot of information is freely available to someone, and you don't understand it, but if you use social media for your knowledge generation and for your opinion making, there are basically you being pushed into a specific direction. You're not given free reign over your thought processes. You're not allowed a free reign over your ideas. You're actually being channelized. Because, for example, if you're the kind of person who watches a specific type of videos, then YouTube will always suggest you similar videos that promote the same idea that you have. So that's where social media has gone wrong, because the contrary viewpoint um, does not come to you. The only viewpoint that comes to you is the one that you already believe in. And to develop a good thought process, to develop your analytical skills, and to really understand anything, and to be, become someone who can make real solutions, it's very important to know the other side as well, and to hear arguments that don't agree with you. So that's something that is missing in this internet age in a way. And that's the strangest part is, with the internet you actually have all of that really available to you. When you had to go to libraries to get all your information, it was a lot harder, because you wouldn't have that much access. But internet makes it easy for you to get access, but that also means with social media, unfortunately, you're getting channelized into a specific thought process, which was started by your own clicks. So that click thing, that's a problem. But otherwise, I think what this has done is given everybody an opportunity to develop their communication skills, to develop their thinking skills, and to discuss problems. A lot of issues which would never have been discussed earlier, kept in wraps, now come up. Movements like Me Too, and movements about women empowerment, and LGBTQ rights, and all of those conversations are happening today, and they're reaching wider, and the doors are being opened wider simply because of social internet availability. So it's a good and a bad, both things in the same platform.
So, ma'am, as you were discussing about the kind of videos, you have given the example of YouTube. So, youth might have developed the kind of algorithm. So, it's a question, it's a very general question, that there are people who are aspiring for civil services. So, they are very much updated about what's thing happening. But there are set of people who are not very much updated.
So, what's the question?
Yeah. So, ma'am, the people, those who are not updated, how they can come for this inclusive growth, how they can be aware and contribute their part.
I think awareness starts from wanting to be aware. If you want to know about something, you will always know about it. You can Google it, you can find it on different platforms. It's very easy. It all starts with, do you really want it? Do you really want to do it? Do you really want to go to that place? So I don't think that's a problem. It's simply about wanting to reach out. You can read magazines, you can subscribe to newspapers of I personally think that it's not a good idea to get your information from a single source. So read the same thing from multiple sources, as many as possible. I think that will solve all your problems.
So, ma'am, as you said that it's a question because you were here, so it's just a general question that people must refer multiple sources, and I guess that was a very unconventional resource that you have told about when you were preparing for civil services.
Which source?
Reading from lot of resources.
Yeah. So how is that unconventional?
So, ma'am, the people that have made their mind about note making. So you have told about how different it is to read multiple sources rather than making notes.
When you make notes, you kind of restricting yourself to a single viewpoint. It's not always a good idea unless you're doing science kind of things where there is only one viewpoint. The earth is round. Trust me, all those people who think it's flat are wrong. So there are things like that wherein obviously you can't study maths without making notes and without writing it down. So it depends on what you're studying and what you're doing. So I don't think there is specifically a flat solution for everybody in that. But obviously, if you're referring to only one source and you're writing down things only from that source and that's the only thing you'll refer, you are restricting yourself to different opinions and you're restricting your growth, you're restricting your intellectual development. And you will never become a person who's able to analyze and see the problem in its comprehensive context.
Yes. So, ma'am, being the first person to give job to a transgender, a full-time employment in Delhi government, how do you see the present generation, the aspect of accepting different gender identities, which have been unfortunately taboo for many years? Is this situation changing and society becoming more acceptable?
Absolutely. We are moving towards a world where different people are being recognized for their skills and talents and their personal identities rather than what generations have defined. We are definitely living in an age which is much more open to ideas, to individuals as such. than it was ever before. So definitely, and I do think the young have a role to play in this. It's very tough. See, what happens is your opinions and your ideas are formed as you grow, right? So if you're somebody who has 50 years of experience behind you, it'll be very tough for you to ignore all that experience and create a new idea. But if you're someone who only has 20 years experience behind you, you obviously will be able to create newer ideas and newer develop those newer thought processes. So definitely, the world today is a lot more open and accepting of different identities and different individuals.
And that's the best part of today's society, if we can quote that
Yes.
specifically. Ma'am, we have been talking about the youth engagements and volunteerism. So, India has been very proud of this fact that we are 66% of the youth population. But can we see there has been youth representation deficit?
Representation in what?
Representation at various levels, either that's in political level or that's at
That's not.
various level. Can we?
No, that's not true. See, there are age limits when you can fight elections. So obviously, things will happen, and you must remember, a lot of the things that you're talking about are leadership roles, and you need a person with experience to do them. The youth will never have the required experience. You will have the energy, but never the experience. So when you're talking about leadership roles, it's not always a good idea. It's not always a good idea to have very young people doing those posts and having those roles. But if you're talking about political representation, if you look at the movements around you, all of them are being channelized through the youth. So definitely the youth does have participation. If you're saying there are no leaders that you vote for who are young, well, there are restrictions on that. There is a specific age limit in your constitution. Secondly, it's not always a good idea to have young people making your policies, because their experience, like I said before, is not that wide. They only have that much experience. They haven't seen enough, faced enough situations to build theories and to build enough background to any problem. So that's not always a good idea.
Okay. So, ma'am, as you have an experience of working in social welfare, so, ma'am, it's a question that there are several NGOs working day and night in counteracting the menace against women trafficking. And approximately 16 million women are victims of sex trafficking in India.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, do you look into the scenario and do you believe that banning red light areas in India can be an effective measure in securing a healthy environment for women?
Securing a what?
Securing a healthy environment for women in cities and preventing the trafficking.
I didn't catch your word. I'm missing the word that you're using.
Uh, Ma'am, banning the red light areas, as I said, there have been different NGOs working
I know. I got that.
for
I got that. What is the final question? I'm not getting that.
banning red light areas can be a solution for providing healthy environment, securing the women against trafficking.
Trafficking is a very different concept from red light areas. Okay. Trafficking doesn't necessarily mean that those women end up in those red light areas. There are victims of trafficking all around you, and they're not necessarily concentrated at any one point. See, I personally don't think banning things becomes a solution in long term, because the minute I tell you don't do this, you want to do it. Okay, what we need to work more on is education, is changing mindsets, and I firmly believe personally, and this is completely my own opinion, that we've restricted our conversation about women to women. We haven't really brought the men into the conversation as much. And that's where we need to start working. We need to start bringing in the boys into the conversation. We need to start talking to boys about gender identity, about respecting each other, about how different things work. So that's personally my opinion, that we can't go on without the boys into the conversation. So if you're looking to make the world safer for women, we must bring in every section of the population into that conversation. Banning things doesn't always result in really the thing being
Yeah, I
stopped.
understand.
It's always a sociological perspective to such things. And remember that there is a reason that government hasn't done it yet, right? So and they're not official red light areas. I mean, nobody's allowing red light areas. So if you say banning them, there really isn't anything. Nobody's said that they are allowed. Okay, so can come if something is allowed. So it's not banning or promoting. It's just that these are things which are not solved by those kind of measures. These are things which are solved by the way women are looked at into society.
Ma'am, you say that if we really want to change the society, we need to bring men into the conversation.
Yes.
So, uh, ma'am, what are your views on the ongoing scenario that have been various discussion about feminism and feminazi, and it creates a kind of divide between men and women. So, do you think it really exists?
I think the problem is that we keep talking of equality and at the same time expecting special behavior. That's where the whole problem lies. If if you don't admit that there are, see, it's about being fair. So personally, I think it's important to recognize that men also have issues. There might be different issues, but they do as well. So what we need to do is actually uh, talk about equality and not from a very selfish perspective. See, the thing is that if you start talking about things as if you're the only victim, that doesn't help. You need to recognize the limitations and the problems of the other side as well before you bring the conversation, and don't say you want equality and then expect special benefits. And be fair when you make an argument. Don't blame everybody for the same things. So specific things are bad. Trafficking is horrible, but do you think only men are involved in that? No. A lot of the victims have actually had initial contact with women who were the ones who were trafficking them. Okay, so it's not always the men who are involved in the who are the ones to blame. We must shoulder the blame of each of our actions as well. So so which is why I think it's very important that we are fair in our judgments and we are fair in what we are asking. We cannot expect special behavior and then say we are equals. So if you're saying that I need a seat in the bus, but I'm also, an equal, you need a seat in the bus because you're more tired at that point, because you're maybe pregnant, and hence it's tougher for you to stand. Those must be your reasons. Your reasons can't be I'm a woman, so I need a seat. But then I also want equality in everything else. So it is a very balanced view that needs to be taken. And unfortunately, most of the times when we're trying to change something, it's very easy to get swayed by the victim mentality. So that's where problems arise. That's where you kind of lose the other person from your argument as well.
Perfect. I guess I we need to reiterate the statement that if you want equality, you need to be the one.
Yeah, you need
You
to
can't
give
just
it back
expect the
yourself.
special behavior.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed by this statement because I most of the time I feel that our society is somehow failing in realizing this very important fact.
Yes.
Uh, Ma'am, as you said, you do not like to discuss a lot about the examination pattern, but it's a question um, about the right attitude when I talk about the people giving different examinations. So people have been talking about the right attitude. Can you please can you tell about the right attitude and what it is actually when it comes to a practical sense?
Uh, right attitude is not really what I ever say. I've never said it, and I don't know what that means. But to me, any decision that you make in your life, you must have right reasons behind it. You must know why you're doing it. You must come from a space of on being honest with yourself. It cannot be decisions that you've made basis what other people have told you to do, or basis opinions that you've never tested out. So it's about knowing yourself well enough and having a strong enough reason for whatever you're doing, and to make about making your decisions for yourself and not about other people's opinions and other people's perspectives. So I think that's the main thing that I personally advise, that know why you're doing something, have a strong enough personal reason for why you're pursuing a particular career path or something. And I think that's the only way things will work out, because you cannot keep working at someone else's dream. It's very tough to struggle and to, make someone else's dream come true. So you need to make sure that whatever decisions taking in life are also a part of your dream. Until you do that, you won't succeed at anything.
Perfect. Ma'am, something you would like to add on to this topic and tell to the youth about what do you feel specifically about the topic and youth engagement?
I think it's very important that everybody engages in some activity outside of their regular educational sphere. It helps you in multiple ways, small things that you won't even realize over the course of your life. It helps you develop perspective. It helps you see what the other side looks like. It gives you a form of self identity. It helps develop your communication skills, your problem solving skills, your decision skills, and it just makes you a better human being. When you talk to someone, you know what you're talking about. You will have a perspective. It just also makes you a lot more interesting. If you're someone who's only gotten knowledge from books, what you're doing is you're just parroting someone else's knowledge because the book was written by someone else, right? So if you develop your own perspective, if you go out in the world and you experiment with yourself and with the way the world is for yourself, you will then have something to talk about of yourself. You won't be a parrot telling someone that this person said this and this person said that. It makes you a very boring person. So, just to be a social success, it's important that you get into things and you understand things and you volunteer your time. Plus, we all live in a world where we're all dependent on each other. So why not give back? You're also getting something from the world.
That's amazing to hear. Ma'am, one, as you said that to develop, it's very important to develop the right perspective. And ma'am, can we have an insight about your experience being in the services? Some qualities that you think that you might have developed it earlier, uh,
With earlier, as
while
in,
being in the services. When you came into the services, so do you find some qualities which future generation can inculcate right now only after, rather than coming and
yeah, I
realizing
think
that these things are very important?
there are no qualities that you can inculcate. You can only build yourself up as a person. And I think one thing is that be open to experiences and experience as many things as possible. Don't restrict yourself in your thought processes, in your interactions, and in your experiences. So if you are open to experiences, if you're open to interactions with different kinds of people, you don't get stuck with a specific type of friend group and specific type of people that you're surrounded by. Life becomes a lot more easy in the long run, because you will automatically start understanding people. And as a society, we keep forgetting the importance of EQ. And EQ is only developed when you have as many experiences in your youth and in your growing up years. And trust me on this, IQ is important, uh, but most likely in jobs where you're sitting in a lab and doing it all by yourself. So if you're in jobs wherein you are in leadership positions, and I think everybody aspires to be in some way, it's the EQ which will carry you through. Your technical skills will only take you so far. So if you really want to be a success and if you really want to grow, you must have your EQ developed, and that doesn't happen overnight. To develop your EQ, it takes years and years and years. And one of the biggest parts is getting into voluntary activities and getting into, social service things, and even curriculars, etc. I find that a lot of people have no curricular hobbies, which is very, very strange, because why would you not have interests? They develop you as an individual. So to me, those things are very, very important.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing so many insights about and also talking so amazingly on this topic. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Ma'am,
My pleasure.
something you would like to say about the initiative that Kavi Varsha has started up?
No, it's great that you're talking about these issues and you helping people develop perspective and even understanding where they might be going wrong. So, congratulations and good luck. I hope you guys grow more and more.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your precious time with us
Yeah.
and
All
showering
right.
all the knowledge. Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much to the audience for joining this live session. It was extremely amazing to have you all in this live session with Ira Singhal. Another live session.